The massive Empire scout ship Star Seeker dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Its captain stood proudly on the bridge, expecting another routine first contact mission. They had done this hundreds of times before. Find a developing civilization, overwhelm them with superior technology, and add them to the Empire's growing list of colonies. But something was different this time. "Captain, we're being scanned." The young officer at the sensors looked confused. "But that's impossible. These readings suggest technology far beyond our own." Before the captain could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with the same message. "You have entered restricted space. Turn back immediately." Admiral James Walker sat in his command chair aboard Earth's defense station, Olympus. His gray eyes studied the holographic display showing the Empire ship. They had known this day would come. It was why humanity had worked so hard to prepare. "Send them our second warning," he ordered. His voice was calm but firm. "Let's show them a small taste of what we can do." A beam of pure white energy shot across space, stopping just meters from the Empire ship's hull. It wasn't a weapon. It was a message. The beam split into thousands of smaller lights, forming a barrier between the ship and Earth. Inside the Empire ship, alarms blared. Their sensors couldn't even identify what kind of energy they were seeing. The captain's confidence turned to worry as his crew reported that their weapons systems had somehow been disabled. "This is Admiral James Walker of the Earth Defense Force." A transmission cut through their communications. "Your presence here violates Earth space. You have 5 minutes to turn around and leave. This is not a negotiation." The Empire captain laughed nervously. "Surely you don't understand who we are. We represent the Galactic Empire, rulers of 10,000 worlds. We come to offer you protection and advancement." "We understand exactly who you are," Admiral Walker replied. "We've been watching your empire for decades. We know how you drain resources from your colonies. We know about the failed rebellions. And we know about the worlds you've stripped bare." The Empire captain's face turned pale. How could they know all this? His hands gripped his chair tightly as he realized this wasn't going according to plan at all. "If you doubt our capabilities," Walker continued, "look to your ship's rear sensors." The Empire crew gasped as they saw it. A massive human warship had somehow appeared behind them without triggering any alarms. Its design was like nothing they'd ever seen, smooth and organic, almost alive. "That ship," Walker explained, "is just one of thousands. We could have destroyed you the moment you entered our system. We choose peace, but we will not choose submission." The Admiral's words were interrupted by an urgent message from Earth's surface. Dr. Maria Torres, head of the science division, appeared on his screen. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "The Mars ruins we discovered last year. They just activated when the Empire ship arrived. They're not what we thought they were. They're not alien at all. They're human. From our future." Walker's eyes widened. The ruins that had accelerated Earth's technology by centuries, they had been a gift from humanity itself, a bootstrap paradox, ensuring Earth would be ready for this very moment. "You have 3 minutes remaining," Walker announced to the Empire ship. "Consider this timeline carefully. In the 30 years since finding those ruins, we've surpassed your Empire's technology. Imagine what we'll achieve in another 30. The Empire captain looked at his trembling crew. Their sensors showed more human ships appearing from nowhere. Their weapons were useless. Their fastest engines couldn't outrun what they were seeing. "Plot a course out of the system," he ordered quietly, "and prepare a report for the Empire Council. They need to know. Earth is not to be touched." As the Empire ship turned around, Admiral Walker smiled. Humanity had worked hard for this moment, preparing in isolation, advancing through their own efforts. The Empire had expected to find an easy target. Instead, they had found a wall. And behind that wall was a civilization that had chosen to be left alone, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Earth wasn't hiding from the galaxy. The galaxy needed to hide from Earth. The Empire wasn't used to being told no. 2 weeks after their scout ship's hasty retreat, they sent their best negotiator, Ambassador Marcus Reed, a human from one of their oldest colony worlds. The Heaven's Gate space station hung in Earth orbit like a giant silver wheel. Reed watched it through his shuttle window, trying to hide his amazement. The station was beautiful in a way Empire architecture never was. It looked peaceful, but his instruments detected enough power running through it to light up a planet. "Welcome to Earth space, Ambassador," a friendly voice said over the radio. "Please follow the guidance beam to Docking Bay 7. Reed had practiced this moment for days. He was born on an Empire world, trained in their best schools, and chosen for this mission because he looked like the people he would be meeting. The Empire thought this would give them an advantage. They were wrong. Director Anna Thompson waited at the dock with 2 guards. She was a tall woman with short white hair and a calm smile that reminded Reed of his grandmother. "Welcome to Heaven's Gate, Ambassador Reed. I trust your journey was comfortable." "Very much so, Director," Reed replied, following her through spotless corridors. "Though I admit, I'm curious why Earth chose such an isolated path." Thompson's smile didn't waver. "Tell me, Ambassador, how old were you when the Empire took your world?" Reed stopped walking. Nobody in the Empire ever talked about taking worlds. They used words like protection and integration. I was born after the integration," he said carefully. "Of course you were," Thompson nodded. "Please, join us in the observation room. There's something you should see." The observation room's walls were actually giant screens. With a wave of Thompson's hand, they lit up with images that made Reed's heart stop. He saw Empire ships stripping resources from worlds, secret prison camps for rebels, ancient forests being cleared for Empire factories. "How did you get these?" he whispered. "We've had stealth satellites watching Empire space for 20 years, Thompson explained. "Your leaders never found them because they're quantum cloaked. They're still there now, feeding us information." Reed's diplomatic mask cracked. "Why show me this?" "Because you're human, Ambassador. Whatever world you were born on, whatever flag you serve, you're one of us. And we want you to understand why Earth chose isolation." The screens changed again, showing Earth cities. They were clean, green, filled with parks and happy people. No poverty, no pollution, no Empire control towers watching everything. "We developed our own way," Thompson continued. "Clean energy, food for everyone, education and healthcare as basic rights. We don't need the Empire's protection because we protected ourselves." Reed thought about his home world, about the Empire taxes that kept people poor, the restrictions that kept them controlled. "What are you offering?" he asked quietly. "Nothing," Thompson smiled. "That's the point, Ambassador. Earth doesn't want to rule anyone. We just want to be left alone. And we have the power to ensure that happens." The screen showed Earth's defense fleet now, ships that made Empire vessels look like toys, weapons that could disable entire armadas without killing anyone. "Your leaders sent you here hoping we'd trust you because you look like us," Thompson said gently. "Instead, we're hoping you'll trust us because you are us." Reed stood in silence, watching the screens. Everything he believed about the Empire, about Earth, about his own world, it was all changing. "The Empire won't accept this," he said finally. "They'll try to force their way in." "We know," Thompson nodded. "That's why we're giving you a choice, Marcus. Go back and deliver the Empire's message, or stay and help us protect humanity's real future, not as our agent, as our equal." Reed looked at his reflection in the window. For the first time, he saw himself not as an Empire diplomat, but as a human being. In his heart, he already knew his answer. "Director Thompson," he said slowly, "I think we have a lot to talk about." Behind them, Earth turned slowly in space, peaceful and free. And somewhere in Empire space, Ships were already gathering for an attack that would change everything. The Empire's attack fleet jumped into the solar system exactly where Earth's Defense Command expected them to. 5 massive warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent, appeared at the edge of Neptune's orbit. Commander Robert Stone stood at his post in the Guardian Protocol control room, deep beneath Earth's surface. His fingers moved across the holographic controls as he activated humanity's most advanced defense system. Enemy ships detected, the AI announced calmly, deploying countermeasures. In space, the Empire fleet's commander smiled confidently. Begin the attack pattern. Show these isolationists what real power looks like. But something was wrong. Their engines weren't responding. Their weapons remained silent. Even their communications were dead. What's happening? The commander demanded, watching helplessly as his mighty ships drifted in space like leaves in a pond. The answer came in the form of a small object that appeared between their ships. It was a sphere, no bigger than a car, glowing with a soft blue light. As the Empire crews watched, it split into 5 pieces, each moving to surround a different ship. "This is Commander Stone of Earth Defense," a voice echoed through their ships, somehow bypassing their disabled communications. "Your vessels are now under the control of our Guardian Protocol. Please remain calm." The Empire commander slammed his fist on his useless control panel. "Impossible. No technology can shut down our ships like this." "Actually," Stone replied, allowing himself a small smile, "we can do much more than that." The small spheres pulsed once, and suddenly every Empire crew member found themselves standing in a massive white room. Their ships were gone, but they weren't dead. They had been teleported. Admiral Walker walked into the room, accompanied by Dr. Maria Torres. The Empire soldiers reached for weapons that were no longer there. "Welcome to Earth," Walker said simply. "What you just experienced was our quantum teleportation system. Your ships are safely stored in our orbital docks, and your crews are all here in our secure facility." Dr. Torres stepped forward, her eyes bright with scientific enthusiasm. "Your ships are fascinating, by the way. Very efficient design, considering their limitations. Would you like to see how they compare to current Earth technology?" She waved her hand, and one wall of the room became transparent, showing a massive hangar beyond. Inside it stood an Earth defense ship. Unlike the bulky, aggressive Empire designs, it was smooth and elegant. But what shocked the Empire crews most was its size. It was barely a quarter the size of their smallest vessel. "That small ship," Torres explained, "contains more computing power than your entire fleet. Its quantum drive could carry it to any point in the galaxy instantly, and its defensive capabilities." She smiled. "Well, you've already experienced those." The Empire commander found his voice. "You can't expect us to believe that. No civilization could advance so quickly." "We had help," Walker said, "from ourselves. Those ruins on Mars, they were a message from humanity's future, ensuring we would be ready for this moment. Every advancement you see here, we built it ourselves, following the guidance of our own potential." He walked among the stunned Empire crews. "You'll all be returned to Empire space safely. But first, we want you to understand something. Earth isn't isolationist because we're weak. We're isolationist because we've seen what imperial ambition does to civilizations." Dr. Torres activated another display, showing Earth's cities. "This is what freedom looks like," she said softly. "This is what every world could be without Empire control." The Empire commander stared at the images, his worldview crumbling. "The Empire won't stop," he warned. "They'll send more ships." "We know," Walker nodded. "That's why we're showing you all this. When you return, you'll tell them what you saw. Not just our power, our prosperity, our peace." He gestured, and a door opened, revealing Ambassador Reed. "Some of you, like Marcus here, might choose to stay. Others will return to spread the truth. Either way, the Empire's done taking worlds." The demonstration was over. Earth had shown its hand, revealing not just technology that seemed like magic, but a way of life that made the Empire's promises look hollow. The real war was about to begin, but it wouldn't be fought with ships and weapons. It would be fought with hope. The Empire Council chamber was in chaos. 50 representatives from the most powerful Empire worlds shouted at each other across the Grand Hall. The news from Earth had spread faster than anyone expected. General William Drake stood before them, his face red with anger. "We must strike now. Gather every ship, every soldier. Earth has revealed its power. We cannot let them keep it." But Ambassador Reed's replacement, a nervous man named Thomas Gray, raised his hand. "General, did you even read the reports? They didn't just beat our ships. They turned them off like toys. Our best weapons didn't even make them blink." The chamber grew quiet as a new figure entered. High Commander Peters, leader of all Empire forces. His uniform was covered in medals, but his face showed worry rather than pride. "We've lost contact with 3 colony worlds," he announced. The chamber erupted again. "They're not destroyed," he continued, raising his voice. "They've declared independence. They say Earth has offered them protection." On one of those worlds, a crowd gathered around a public screen. Earth had sent them plans for clean energy plants, food production systems, and medical facilities. All free, all better than anything the Empire had given them. Back in the council chamber, the arguments grew fiercer. Some wanted war. Others wanted to make peace. A few even suggested surrendering to Earth completely. "You don't understand." Reed's voice came from a communication screen. He was broadcasting from Earth. "They don't want to rule us. They don't want our resources. They just want to show us a better way." "Traitor," General Drake shouted. "You betrayed your empire." Reed smiled sadly. "No, General. I remembered I was human first, Empire citizen second. Let me show you something." The chamber's screens lit up with images from Earth. Clean cities, happy people, no poverty, no pollution, no soldiers on every corner. "This could be every world," Reed said. "Earth isn't keeping their technology secret anymore. They're sharing it with any world that wants to be free." High Commander Peters studied the images carefully. In 30 years of service, he'd watched the Empire take world after world, but he'd never seen one thrive like this. "How many colonies have seen these images?" he asked quietly. "All of them," Reed replied. "Earth's quantum communication network reaches everywhere. You can't stop the truth anymore." In various parts of Empire space, more colonies were making their choice. Some peacefully declared independence. Others asked Earth for help removing Empire control. The mighty Empire was falling apart without a single shot being fired. General Drake refused to accept it. "Ready my personal fleet," he ordered his staff. "We'll show these colonies what happens to traitors." But when he reached the docking bay, his ships were empty. Every crew member had seen the broadcasts from Earth. They had chosen not to fight. In the council chamber, High Commander Peters made a decision. "I move to open official peace talks with Earth," he announced. "You can't," Drake shouted. "The Empire has ruled for 1,000 years. "And maybe that's long enough," Peters replied. "Look at what Earth built in just 30 years. Imagine what we could all build together." The vote was not even close. The Empire would seek peace. General Drake and his supporters were arrested when they tried to resist. That evening, Reed walked in an Earth park with Director Thompson. "I didn't expect it to happen so fast," he admitted. Thompson smiled. "People don't want to be ruled, Marcus. They want to be free. Sometimes, they just need to see it's possible." Above them, Earth's defense ships prepared to help another colony transition to independence. Not through force, but through hope. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. The Empire wasn't being destroyed. It was being transformed, and humanity was leading the way. General Drake stood on the bridge of his stolen command ship, watching as the largest fleet in Empire history gathered around him. After escaping custody, he had spent weeks gathering loyal commanders and ships, convincing them that Earth's power was a trick that could be broken. 500 ships, his second-in-command reported, all crewed by soldiers who still believe in the Empire's strength. Drake smiled coldly. Earth thinks they can break us without fighting. Let's show them what real war looks like. On Earth, Admiral Walker watched the massive fleet gathering. The Guardian Protocol's sensors tracked every ship, every weapon, every soldier. But this time, he wasn't smiling. They're desperate, Ambassador Reed said, standing beside him. Drake convinced them that it's better to die fighting than accept change. Walker nodded sadly. Then we'll have to show them something new. He pressed a button on his command console. Dr. Torres, is the Mercy Protocol ready? In her lab, Dr. Torres made final adjustments to a small silver sphere. Ready, Admiral. Though I still wish we had another way. The Empire fleet jumped into the solar system all at once, appearing like a wall of metal stretching across space. General Drake's voice boomed across all frequencies. People of Earth, your tricks end today. Surrender your technology, or we will reduce your world to ash. Admiral Walker's response was calm. General Drake, power down your weapons. This is your only warning. Fire everything. Drake ordered. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward Earth. The Empire crews cheered until they saw what happened next. The attacks didn't hit any shields. They didn't explode against barriers. They simply stopped, frozen in space like a paused video. What is this? Drake demanded. The Mercy Protocol, Walker replied. We didn't want to show this technology. We hoped we wouldn't need it. A small silver sphere appeared in the center of the Empire fleet. It pulsed once, and a wave of soft blue light spread outward. As it touched each ship, something extraordinary happened. Every weapon disappeared. Not destroyed, simply gone, converted back into raw energy, and harmlessly dispersed into space. The ships themselves remained untouched. Impossible. Drake watched as his mighty fleet was disarmed in seconds. All ships, retreat. But the engines wouldn't respond. The Empire fleet hung in space. Powerful warships turned into helpless boxes of metal. Listen carefully. Walker's voice was firm but kind. Your life support systems still work. Your crews are safe. But your weapons and engines now exist only as peaceful energy among the stars. Dr. Torres activated the second phase. In every Empire ship, holographic displays appeared, showing the truth about Earth's technology. Not as a weapon, but as a tool for peace. You thought we were hiding our power out of fear, Walker continued. We were hiding it because we knew how tempting it would be to use it wrongly, to become exactly what we were fighting against. Drake's crews watched in awe as the displays showed them Earth's real victory. Not the technology that could disable weapons, but the society that chose not to build weapons in the first place. Your crews have a choice, Walker explained. Earth ships will arrive shortly to offer transport. You can return to Empire space as witnesses to why war is no longer an option. Or you can stay, learn our ways, and help build something better. On his command ship, Drake fell into his chair, defeated not by weapons, but by the realization that everything he believed about power was wrong. One by one, Empire crews began requesting transport to Earth, not as prisoners, but as students, not conquered by force, but convinced by wisdom. The last great fleet of the Empire would never fire a shot again, and in its peaceful end, a new age truly began. News of the Empire fleet's peaceful defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the colony world of New Hope, people gathered in the streets, watching Earth's broadcasts on giant screens. They saw the mighty warships hanging helpless in space, their weapons turned to harmless stardust. Tom Wilson, once a poor farmer on New Hope, stood in those crowds. Look, he told his children, pointing at images of Earth's cities. That's what freedom looks like. The revolution didn't come with guns or bombs. It came with ideas, spreading from world to world through Earth's quantum communication network. Earth didn't just share images of a better life. They shared the knowledge to build it. In her lab on Earth, Dr. Torres worked tirelessly, preparing data packages for each world that asked for help. Every planet is different, she explained to her team. They need solutions that work for their specific problems. On the factory world of Industrial Prime, workers watched in amazement as Earth's clean energy plans transformed their polluted planet. Massive empire factories that once churned out weapons were converted to produce food, medicine, and tools for rebuilding. Ambassador Reed traveled from world to world, not to demand loyalty, but to offer choices. He stood before the leaders of Mining Colony 7, his eyes bright with hope. Earth doesn't want to rule you, he explained. They want to teach you, to help you rule yourselves. The colony's leader, an old man tired of empire control, stood up shakily. How can we trust this isn't just another form of control? Reed smiled and pressed a button. A hologram appeared, showing the colony's future. Green forests replacing strip mines, clean cities rising from worker slums, schools and hospitals where there had been only empire barracks. Because Earth gives you everything freely, Reed said. The only price is that you must help others once you've learned. The free world's protocol spread faster than anyone expected. Each freed colony became a beacon for others. Earth's defense ships appeared wherever they were needed, not to fight, but to protect those who chose freedom while they built their new lives. In the Heaven's Gate station, Admiral Walker and Director Thompson watched the revolution unfold on a giant star map. Blue lights showed free worlds, spreading like a peaceful infection through the red of empire space. It's beautiful, Thompson whispered. All those lives changing for the better. Walker nodded, and not a single shot fired. Well, except for those the Mercy Protocol turned into starlight. On the agricultural world of Greenhaven, farmers watched their children attend the first free school ever built there. Earth teachers shared knowledge through quantum links, while Earth engineers helped build new cities that worked with nature instead of destroying it. The remaining Empire loyalists couldn't understand it. They had spent centuries believing that power came from weapons, from control, from fear. But Earth had shown a different kind of power, the power of hope, of knowledge freely given, of helping others rise instead of keeping them down. In the Empire's former capital, the old council chamber was being turned into a school. Former Empire officials sat beside common workers, learning Earth's technologies together. There were no more artificial ranks, no more enforced divisions. Ambassador Reed stood in that chamber, remembering how different it had looked just months ago. A student raised her hand, a young girl who would have never been allowed in this room under Empire rule. "Sir," she asked, "why did Earth wait so long to help us?" Reed thought carefully before answering. Sometimes, to truly help others, you have to first learn how to help yourself. Earth spent 30 years building something beautiful. Now they're teaching us to build it too. Outside the chamber, the sun set on a changed world. In orbit, Earth ships kept their protective watch, not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and friends. The revolution wasn't over, but unlike every revolution before it, this one built things up instead of tearing them down. And that made all the difference. 5 years had passed since the Empire's last fleet faced Earth's Mercy Protocol. In the gardens of Heaven's Gate Station, Admiral Walker walked with Ambassador Reed, both men older but more peaceful than they had been when they first met. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years, Reed said, watching Earth spin below them. "Sometimes I still expect to wake up and find myself back in the Empire." Walker smiled. "Instead, you woke up in something better. We all did." The galaxy had changed more in 5 years than it had in the previous 1,000. Where the Empire had built walls, Earth helped build bridges. Where there had been warships, now research vessels explored the stars. In the station's main control room, Director Thompson showed a group of visiting students the new Galactic map. Unlike the old Empire maps that showed conquered territories, This one showed trading routes, scientific missions, and cultural exchanges. Each light represents a free world, she explained to the eager young faces, and each world helps others in its own way. The students came from 20 different planets, something impossible under Empire rule. They studied together, shared their world's knowledge, and learned Earth's most important lesson, that true strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. On what had once been the Empire's factory worlds, new cities gleamed under clean skies. The quantum technology Earth had discovered was now used everywhere, powering homes, healing the sick, and letting people travel between stars as easily as their ancestors had traveled between cities. Dr. Torres, her hair now gray but her eyes still bright, worked with scientists from 100 worlds. Together, they pushed the boundaries of knowledge further than any one civilization could have alone. Earth's greatest gift wasn't the technology, she told her diverse team. It was the idea that we could all work together, each bringing our own wisdom to solve greater problems. In the former Empire capital, now called Unity City, the old council chamber had become the heart of something new, the Galactic Cooperation Council. Unlike the Empire's forced rule, the council was a place where worlds came together by choice, sharing resources and solving problems together. General Drake, released from custody years ago, sat in the back of that chamber, watching representatives from free worlds discuss trading agreements and scientific projects. The man who had once commanded the Empire's last fleet now spent his days teaching others about the cost of war and the price of peace. "I was wrong," he told a journalist who asked about his change of heart. "I thought power meant having the strongest weapons. Earth showed us that real power is having the wisdom not to need weapons at all." Ambassador Reeves stood at the council podium, addressing representatives from 200 worlds. Behind him, Earth's flag flew alongside those of every free world, not above them, but among them, as equals. 5 years ago, Earth stood alone, he said. "We chose isolation because we saw darkness in the Empire's rule. But in standing alone, we learned something precious, how to stand together." In orbit around Earth, the Guardian Protocol systems still watched for threats. But its greatest work now was coordinating the vast network of knowledge and aid that flowed between worlds. The same technology that had stopped Empire weapons now helped ships navigate safely through space. Admiral Walker sat in his office on Heaven's Gate, reading reports from across the galaxy. Each told the same story: worlds growing, people learning, lives improving. Not through force or fear, but through cooperation and hope. "Computer," he said quietly, "send a message to the Mars ruins. Tell our future selves, we did it. We found a better way." As the message encoded itself into quantum light, Earth turned peacefully below. The planet that had once banned an empire had helped build something far greater, a future where no bans were needed, because all worlds stood as equals under the same stars.